This podcast is brought to you by Midwinter. These guys were a startup, an entrepreneurial startup some 10 years ago, way before it was even cool to be a tech startup, and have since then gone on to win every single award year after year after year when it comes to financial advice software. I use them. I know a lot of people that have, and if you haven't already jumped onto the new way of doing business, which is all cloud-based and API, so it all talks to each other, then go look at yourself in the mirror and sort yourself out and go get Midwinter.
Get ready for an exciting morning at XY Live, guys. So welcome everyone that's there. We've got a couple of announcements to make. So we've locked in our next social event, and that's on the 11th of August. MLC's been kindly enough to invite us to their premises in Sydney, and so that'll be running in the evening on the 11th of August. The concept is the 80%. So we're going to have acorns down there showing us how they got so much engagement out of the Australian people. I think a lot of other tech companies have been seeing what they've been doing and looking at them with amazement and how much engagement they've got. Like people that know finance are getting attracted to it and that have never been attracted to anything before. So we're going to be getting some good insights out of that. And then we've also got Glenn Carlson from Dent, which are the owners of KPI, which a number of people in our industry have been benefiting from in terms of going on a journey of finding their ideal clients. And Glenn's going to go through how we can actually take those insights from acorns and actually implement them within our own businesses. So looking at those practical ways that we can refine how we deal with our clients and potential clients. The other thing is, if you're not getting the emails, please jump on our mailing list. You can hop on the website there and just drop in your details. We've got look out for the blogs that so we get every event that we've done previously in the last few weeks. They've come out on a blog, so they're available on our website, and you'll be able to see those come through on LinkedIn and Twitter as well. So keep your eye out. Today we've got Dean Holmes all the way from London. He's been kind enough to. It's past 11 o'clock over there, so it's really nice of him to sort of be sharing his time at this hour. Welcome, Dean.
Thank you, Paddy. Thanks, Adrian. How are you?
That's all right. Oh, everyone else knows me at Paddy in this community.
Yeah. I was already in trouble by calling you a nickname to start with, so.
That'll be the least of it by the end of the session. So Dean's been running his business overseas for the people that don't know. He does pop back to Australia from time to time, but he's going to be running through how he does this, how other people could do it, and what he's seen, what the journey's been like for him. So it's pretty awesome. There's not many people that have done what he's been able to do, and I think everyone's going to get some really good ideas out of what he's been doing, even if you just want to do it in Australia, live in Mildura and just deal with people in Sydney or something. So that's there's going to be some really cool outtakes. So Dan, we might kick off. Why you moved overseas, and what was the reason for the big move?
Yeah, sure. So essentially, the big thing that kicked us off to go overseas is I got married almost 4 years ago to my lovely wife, and she got an opportunity to continue and expand her career by moving across to London. So she got a promotion, which meant that we could move across to London. It had always been something that she had wanted to do as she came across from New Zealand and then to Sydney and now to London. And so I was lucky enough to be able to support her and her career as well by being able to sort of move the business and move my role within the business, which we'll get onto, because it's not just my business, but the broader business that I'm part of, but move my part of the business over to London and still be able to operate, talk to clients, have meetings, have Skype meetings, things like we're doing now, was all able to be done remotely. So it was a sort of a reactive situation to a situation that was presented to us. We took advantage of it because it was absolutely a great opportunity, and here I am. We've been in London for about 2 years, and it's about 2 years and 2 months now. So it's been a successful journey so far.
Yeah, great. So it's a really good example of how advisors can support their partners because of the flexibility of our jobs, I guess. That's which is awesome. The just a reminder to everyone out there that while we're going through this, if you've got any questions that you're really keen to ask Dean, just pop them in the message box, and Phil will be keeping track of those, and he'll come back to us in the second half with asking those. How did your clients react to the move, and how did you deal with that transition?
Yeah, well, there was two people. There was sort of two different people that I had to tell. Firstly, I sort of had to work out a situation with my internal clients, being my business partner and staff within the business. So that was an interesting challenge in itself. My business partner knew some years in advance that this might happen, but obviously the day that it did happen is a little bit of became a little bit of a shock, and we had to implement a strategy within the business. And then obviously at the time that I left to come across to the UK, we had a much larger business, which we had about 10 staff at the time. So it was about how we communicated that to the broader team. It was accepted really well, but I definitely couldn't have done what I've done without the team that's based in Sydney. Secondly, with the clients, the way in which I tackled that is I essentially went to my largest client and spoke to them first, with essentially the view that if I could explain it to them what I was looking to do, and if my largest client was happy enough to stay with me and continue to work with me while I was in the UK, then everyone else sort of beyond that would say yes. So
it's a bit of trickle down economics almost.
Yeah. So if I could retain the biggest client, it's the 80-20 rule. I think you're having a presentation on that shortly. But yeah, exactly. I sort of started with the biggest one. That was the biggest challenge for me. And so when they were very, very comfortable with the idea, it just gave me confidence to go along and continue to have those conversations with clients.
So with that, some of the key steps were just working with your largest clients first, and making sure your team was on board, and with that transition, and that was probably
they were the
key part of it.
Yeah, they were the two big parts. There was a technology part and an admin part, which we'll get onto just in relation to what my day is like normally. But look, from the client perspective, it was 99.9%. It was amazing from all the clients. So heaps of the clients, because I have a really good relationship with my clients, they were incredibly actually excited. They'd already been on a little bit of a journey with me, over the years, just with the life experiences that we have personally, and I share those with clients as well. And so they knew about Anshika. They knew where she came from, what she was doing. And so when I talked about her getting a promotion and things like that, it was a really easy conversation to have, because they were already sort of, aware of that part of my personal life as well. So that was really positive. Some clients were almost indifferent in that it didn't really worry them at all. Some clients I only see once a year, and so I was always promising to come back to Sydney. I come back 4 times a year anyway, which we'll talk about in a second, but I was always promising to be there. So some clients didn't even know that I had left before I left, because I didn't get a chance to talk to them, because the move happened quite quickly. And so some clients didn't know for 3 or 6 months until I actually got back and was able to see them. But really they wouldn't have known anyway. They pick up, my mobile phone diverts to my Skype. So if they ever tried to email or call me, I pick up the phone. I don't pick up the phone at 3 o'clock in the morning, but other than that, it's actually really streamlined that people call the same numbers they've always called, and the phone just rings. So that was the broad reaction from my clients.
On that point, what are
as a result of the move?
I was just thinking, what are the touch points that you had with I was just thinking, what are the touch points that you have with clients now? So they're not necessarily being able to pick up the phone and get onto you straight away in their like day hours.
Yeah. Well,
so how does that interaction with clients
what I
look
structure
like,
my day
these
in a
days?
particular manner. So this is a really long day for me. It's not normally like this because I woke up at 5 a.m. this morning. So it's midnight. It's just past midnight now, but I woke up at 5 a.m. this morning. Don't worry, I had a nap. I always have.
Yeah, that's brutal.
But I woke up at 5 o'clock this morning, which was 2 o'clock in the afternoon in Sydney time, and so that actually gives me enough time to cover the business day, to talk to I talk to people within my business and my staff and my business partner Paul. We have chats most days, which means that I know what's going on within the business from an internal perspective. And then there's heaps of time for me to go and talk to clients. The surprising learning from this whole process is that there's lots of clients that actually want and need to talk to you after hours. And so at the moment, if a client wants to talk to me at 9 o'clock at night, that's incredibly convenient for me. It's 12 o'clock in the day. It's very easy for me to provide that service where I can talk to clients out of hours, and it's in my normal working day. So it's actually works quite well being available for clients at a slightly different time zone to what I've been doing before. So the day-to-day client communication is very similar in that I can always have a phone call with a client during a business day. Everyone sends emails, as everyone knows, and so those emails get answered within a 24-hour time frame anyway, which is a reasonable time frame to get back to clients anyway. And then I'm coming back to Sydney anyway. So I come back for the last 2 years. I've come back to Sydney approximately every 3 months for about 3 or 4 weeks, and so that allows me to.
Yeah, great. Is that mainly for? Obviously, it's great to see clients face to face. Does that help with compliance?
It's a client basis of doing it. Is that I actually just want to see. I want to sit down and see with my clients and everything like that. And so the importance of maintaining the relationship. You can have a virtual relationship, just like what we're doing right now. You can do that. But it's also nice to sit down and have a cup of coffee, or to go to a client, or they come and see you and things like that. The relationship gets built in two different ways as a result of doing it, and they're both important. I've done. Sorry, absolutely. You go.
And I was discussing your team. So obviously they're on hand.
I think
really helped.
I think they're watching. So I do a big shout out to the team.
G'day, guys.
Because they from this process, Shane, Stella, Kevin, and my business partner Paul. I can
get back to work, guys.
Yeah. Stella and Shane.
I can see Stella's there.
Shane are there. I can see their little pictures. But yeah, in all honesty, there's no way that I wouldn't be able to do it in the way that I run the business without the team.
You got Shane claiming a bit of the credit.
Yeah, that's definitely part of my ability to work remotely, is actually having a team. And so one of the learnings about actually opening this up to other people, other advisors that are looking to do it, is that as simple as it is, someone needs to open the mail, someone needs to be there to answer a phone call at 10 a.m. when I can't. So there you go.
The letter opener. That's his nickname.
So they're simple examples, and obviously there's much more complex jobs that those guys do as well. But it's actually just having a solution around all of those things, and having some administration help as a minimum to enable you as an advisor to be able to work in different locations. And it could be as simple as this gives you the opportunity to have a 2 or 3 month working holiday in different locations, as opposed to trying to squeeze your holiday into sort of 2 weeks. We all, as advisors, we all go in and run independent practices so that we can have flexibility, but then we always get too busy and forget about creating the flexibility. And this is just mine is a very big example of what people can do on a smaller scale, and just have 2 or 3 months off, 2 or 3 months traveling and working via using this technology. And it just means that their business can keep running whilst they're having an experience in their life as well.
Well, Dan, it sounds like it's all gone pretty smoothly, but I'm sure there's been a couple of challenges along the way. What were some of
Look, it was
challenges?
Staying connected with the team is definitely one of the challenges. Anyone that's worked in an open plan office knows that when you're working with a group of people that you get along with, there's a positive banter, but also there's a sharing of combined intellect that happens within an office. And so my role within the office in Sydney was a lot about that, about actually making sure that everyone knew what was going on. I was there to answer questions. I created a little bit of the energy within the business. And so that sort of dropped away when I moved to the UK. And that was as much for the team as it was for me. So by me creating the energy, that actually energizes me as well. And so that is something that you've got to maintain whilst working on your own. It can be a little bit boring at times to work 100% on your own. So that was. No, I talk to the mailman. I leave the door ajar, and people just put their heads in and talk to me and things like that.
Open door policy.
Yeah, exactly right. So look, that was hard. Yeah, I go to the. I travel with the laptop in all sorts of locations because I have the flexibility to do it, and with my wife has travelled for work, and so I've just been able to pack up the laptop and go with her to different countries and work from those countries as well. So as if I was in Sydney or as if I was in London. So that's worked incredibly well. So it's the energy and team environment that's quite hard. And the other thing, I suppose, is some training and development, because I did a lot of training and development for my staff, so they've missed out, and I've had to change the way in which that happens. So if you've got a team, that's probably something important as well. And there's a whole new business pipeline that has to be managed as well, as in how you attract and retain and get new clients. That has to be thought through as well, because you can't do this forever if you're not at least taking on some new clients and things like that. So they're probably the challenges.
And has that been through?
Yeah, my new clients mostly have come from existing clients, and that, from my perspective, has worked the best, because the existing client who's referring already knows that I'm overseas, and so they actually pre-sell that issue and deal with that objection before I talk to the clients. And so,
that'd be a pretty cool story.
Exactly.
My advisor, he lives in London.
So yeah, there hasn't been a big issue with referrals from existing clients because they deal with that. I have my process then is I would have Skype calls with clients. I choose Skype because everyone's heard of it. If I said, let's have a blab meeting, clients would probably have no idea, but everyone has heard of Skype. Everyone can download it. It's really easy, and it actually works very well. And so I have phone conversations, Skype meetings with clients. And then because I'm always coming back every 3 months or so, I'm typically, it's close that I'm going to see that client in person as well. So I've still engaged the client. We might start working for them whilst I'm here, but then I'll meet them within the first 3 to 6 months of the relationship. I will have had a face-to-face meeting with them as well.
Yeah, great. Well, Dean, how about we'll be able to just jump into a few really hot tips and tricks for everyone out there, and if someone wanted to get up and running like you have, before we jump over to, because I'm sure there's going to be some really good questions coming out from people. So what would be your best tips?
Yeah, the tool side of it is actually surprisingly quite simple. And most people already use the vast majority of the tools anyway. Skype is hands down the easiest and the best thing for having video calls with clients. As I was saying, I have an Australian number, so people dial an O2 number. It rings on my Skype phone as if and they ring it. It rings instantly as if I'm in Sydney. So they don't even notice a time lag with that. And my Australian mobile phone number diverts to that Skype number. So it doesn't matter how people want to call me, they'll still get in touch with me. So that works really well. If I want to do some screen sharing with a few people, then I use the GoToMeeting, which you guys might use in the future. That works really well for people dialing in. They dial in with their phone or they dial in with the computer. So that works really well. And then it's just having access to your client files and things like that. And so we've got a VPN so I can access my Australian server remotely, which means I can access all the client files. So that technology wise, that's as simple as it is. So anyone that's already using a cloud service for their data and already using like Office 365 or Gmail and things like that, they're pretty well there anyway in relation to the technology. Yeah. So that part of it is not a restriction anymore. You should have a good webcam so people can see you and things like that and hear you. But besides that, the technology side is actually really, really, really simple.
I think we having a chat yesterday about how important lighting can be as well. So I'm going to have to adjust where I do my blabs from. And I think you figured that out early on because you wanted your clients
exactly.
To
Yeah. Well said. But there's the lighting. It is important to be aware of what you look like and what's going on within the screen, because it's the way in which you're building the connection with the client. You need to, I did put a shirt on today, which as Stella has already commented on, exactly right. I won't tell you. I'm just wearing shorts on the bottom, but shirt on the top. But it does, if I'm talking to a new client and things like that, I will be presentable because that's important. When I'm talking to my staff, I do not always wear a shirt. Yeah.
Shane's lucky if you got clothes on, eh?
Yeah, definitely.
I hope you put some clothes on for Stella at least.
So look, that's the technology. Technology shouldn't stop anyone from doing this. I have heard of situations that certain AFSL or dealer groups struggle to get their head around the concept, but there's different opportunities for you to do that as well. There's some quirk, because I have an Australian office. It's different because everything actually goes out of our Australian office, so it's quite different from that perspective. There's some quirks that PDSs have to be given in Australia to Australian clients, and I think it's all these issues are really about that some parts of the law just haven't caught up to reality. We know that all the top 4 banks have outsourced everything to offshore, and so everyone's working out a way. But I have heard of some dealer groups that are unable to sort of work or get their head around this type of working arrangements.
Well, Phil, that's the compliance side of things. Probably something that we might get another couple of questions. But Phil, what's been emerging on?
So I'll just run through a few of my questions, and then I'll go to some questions that we've got from some people, which have been great. And if you got any more questions, guys, just feel free to ask them. Paddy's frozen in my screen. Is that going on for everyone else?
He's still moving. Okay. Still moving for me.
Okay. All right.
The wind chains.
Dean, great topic. I actually started my financial planning business with a hope that I would be able to work in Australia for 9 months and travel for 3 months every single year.
Yep.
It hasn't happened, and with 3 little ones, it's kind of made that a bit harder now that they're kind of in kinder and going to school next year. So, but it's an awesome topic and something that I know I'd love to do, and I'm sure that plenty of advisors would love to do. But I've got a question about just give us an idea of the size of your business, and do you think that it's possible to do it, work remotely if you're just a one-man band or if you've got a really small team?
Yeah, well, we have five people within my business. So Paul and Stella, my business partners, and then Shane and Kevin. So there's 5 of us within the team, and we have about 80 between us. We have about 80 full service clients, and then another 100 that are lower touch clients. So I sort of call out, we're now a business versus a one-man band financial advisor. So there's definitely a difference between the two. And so when you're a business and you've got staff, things can happen whilst you're not there. So the example of phones being answered, advice being created, client queries being solved, all of that happens whether I was in Sydney or here. My team is helping me do all of those things. If you're 100% what do we call it, like a entrepreneur that's just running their own financial planning firm and doing everything, well, then there's just a few other things that needs to get solved in order for you to go away. And it's actually really simple things like the mail is a real honest example of things that you have to do. We still have to send real application forms to clients and get wet signatures back and things like that. The tiny little admin things are actually the things that need to be solved. If you've got an existing client base and you want to go on holidays for 2 months, you can do what I'm doing without a question, because you're able to talk and communicate to your clients. Most businesses on wrap accounts, and so you can trade, implement online, and do all the ongoing service of your existing clients. You could do that quite easily online. But yeah, there's just a few little admin things that has to be sorted out. But it does give you that flexibility to go.
Yeah, and I suppose there are options to maybe partner with other advice firms to do those little admin roles, because it's especially these days, lots of things are electronic signatures and stuff. So it is becoming a bit easier to go all
at the end of the day, all single financial advisors should have a buddy anyway. They should have their own succession plan. If the worst case scenario happens, that there's someone to look after their clients if they can't look after them. And so you probably, if you were to think about it from that perspective, there's probably 2 single advisors out there that actually could share a resource, which means that they could both go and do this type of thing going forward, or one resource between 3 advisors and things like that. So
I totally agree.
I don't know.
And you did mention, you mentioned dealer groups. What dealer group are you guys a part of? And they're obviously comfortable with you working remotely? Yeah,
well, we have our own AFSL. So our dealer group is essentially called the Wealth Network. It's the AFSL that we started about five years ago. It's slightly larger now that we have a few authorized reps that are joining us at the moment underneath their own cars. So we've had our own license for 4 or 5 years now, which obviously makes it easier. I'm still working as part of the licensee, but I'm back in Australia doing all of that work associated with that as well. And everything is done and produced in Australia as well.
Yeah.
I think it's just the larger dealer groups that sort of have just a little bit more difficulty getting their head around it. That's all.
That's right. Yeah. And I mean, these days people are. Welcome back, Paddy. I think these days people are getting a bit more used to it. The last question I've got, and then I'll throw over the questions that we've been given, is with your business. How is it going? I know you've got people in your business watching, so you got to be kind of cagey with how you're answering. But do they find it harder to deal with you being overseas because you've got to have a meeting every year? Like when you're in the same office building, you know what's going on all the time just because you're there.
Oh, yeah.
But now that you're not there, you've got to
Correct.
organise meeting. Do they find it more difficult?
Yeah, 100%. So it's not easy for them either, and so it hasn't been easy for them for the last 2 years, because as simple as it is that I answered some questions, and so if Dean's not there at 10 a.m. to answer a question, then we've got to wait till 2 p.m. for Dean to answer the question, and so sometimes that just slows down the process, and so there's probably there could be a couple of those examples every day of things that don't get solved when they could get solved instantly if I was there. That being said, I could easily be in meetings as well, and that same situation could occur, or I'd be on holidays, or I'll be away from the office. So there's lots of examples where I'm not instantly contactable, even if I was in Sydney. But yeah, without a doubt, it's not easy running for me, and it's not easy running for my team.
And I guess the plus side is you're potentially more efficient not having to answer those questions for 4 hours of the day.
Yeah, I get a lot of time to work on my own and do things without interruptions. But I prefer the chaos than the silence.
Yeah. All right, so we've got a few questions that we're going to touch on. So Jenny Pierce said, do you think it takes a particular type of client to work with you being overseas? So either they're younger or whether they're more mature. Do you think it matters what type of client you work with?
I honestly don't think it matters. If you if you think about the age range of everyone that's listening now, is that either your parents or your grandparents probably have heard of Skype already. And so the reason why it's becoming more comfortable is everyone's starting to travel. And so most people know someone that has gone and worked in London for 2 years. So the concept is a little bit, worked through now, that people know that people work overseas. And so look, every older client that I have is as equally as happy as all the young clients that I have. And so my demographic of clients is older than myself. And so they're all comfortable with the concept.
Yeah, cool. And Mark's also just asked to follow on just with regards to getting new clients. How do you find getting new clients being remote, where people can't just call your mobile phone as easily and speak to you, or you can't go out there and try and get new clients?
Yeah, it's not as easy as being in Sydney, probably because of the relationship that I could have with referral partners is not as strong from here. And so if you've got close referral partners that generate business for you, you've always got to sort of massage those relationships over time. And so that is more difficult remotely. So that's one side of it. The client referrals are much stronger. And as I said before, you're sort of pre-sold somewhat with a client referral, because they already know you're overseas. And if they're getting in contact with you, knowing that you're overseas, that means they're essentially comfortable with the idea. And then I deal with the objections, and having my team in Sydney really helps. Probably the best story of that I have is that I had a new client meeting where I was in Turkey, and I had got back I did a day trip to Gallipoli and had a meeting that night. It was probably like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, but I had a meeting that night in the hotel in Turkey, in Istanbul. But the client, or the prospect client who's now a client, she came into my office in Sydney, sat down, and she met with Paul and Stella in person. And we had a meeting whereby I was on this Skype call in the boardroom where so the client could see me and they could see that Paul and Stella, and that it was a real office, and that we were a business. And so that's another way of tackling. That's another way that we use to tackle the objections in relation to, being overseas, is when they come in and they see Paul and Stella, and they can meet that, and they know that there's always someone around.
And kind of just following on that, James has asked, if you were to go 100% remote, what would you do differently? And I guess I'll preface that question with, do you think it is possible 100% remote?
I fundamentally believe it's 100% possible. It's harder when you've got an existing business to change it completely. But if you started out, with that end in mind, you could definitely do it. You would make sure that you're more paperless. You would make sure that you're using like wrap accounts or electronic transactions for everything. You would make sure that you would have all the technology in place from day one. You would train your clients that this is how you communicate. We don't have to meet. We meet remotely. We meet on Skype, etc. So if you built your business from day one, and all your marketing messaging and your whole business theme was around the flexibility both for you and your client, then you've got some great messaging around that. Our messaging is not bad.
I'd be interested. We've got Fraser Jack and James Sutherland there. I wonder if they'd be able to let us know if they'd let someone go 100% online overseas, and whether that was possible. But they're still listening.
I think it's been an amazing.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So they're running a license too. So, and I mean, it is called My Online Advisor, so I'd imagine that they'd be keen on that. So, thanks, Dean. It's been an awesome interview. And Stella's just emailed me and said, "Can you make sure you wear shirts every meeting, teaming you have?" So I thought I'd better bring it up because she asked me to bring it up publicly.
No, it's okay. I'll just get on one of those I just get a clip-on collar for my jumper.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Just a t-shirt with a clip-on collar. Perfect.
Exactly.
Awesome, Dean.
I think before we head off, I was just going to say, guys, if you know people that are listening to this and you think they'd be benefiting from it, share it around. It's just simply forwarding the link when we send out the email. And, we'd love to have more people involved.
And I will say, a few people have been talking about the technical issues. We are well aware that this platform isn't great. And this will be our second last one. We're just finalising which platform we're going to move to. And so I apologise that you've spent a lot of time, wasting a lot of time getting on. But we do upload these to the XY Advisor YouTube channel, so you can catch up on all the gold that Dean shared with us. So thanks again, Dean, for coming. And it is 12:36 a.m. over there. So. Yeah. And you got to get up at 5 a.m. tomorrow.
I might talk to my team now so I can go to bed.
He's going to have a little sleep in tomorrow morning.
Exactly.
All right, awesome.
I think Shane's got a bone to pick with you. That's it.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Stephen. Thanks, everyone, for coming. And thanks, Patty. You did an awesome job as well.